What's poppin', everybody? It's your boy Contravane from the CV podcast. Different name, different title. I know we are done with photography for a while. As last podcast hinted, we are going to be diving deep into music for a while. In today's episode, I'm going to be telling you guys about my career as an artist, why I started my first few songs, and the general public's perception of my first few projects. Before we get started, got to give a shout out to the Contravane drip. We got a Gold President's CV tennis chain, and then the Gold Gods a Cuban link. I mean, I figure if I'm going to be telling you about my character, my persona of Contravane, I might as well be in character. This is like the Contravane attire. So let's get right into things. 7th grade, middle school. We're all having that weird phase. Maybe it was just me. I'm pretty sure we all have that weird phase. Finally figuring out what love is. Maybe not love, but, you know, what those feelings are like. I had this crush on a girl. We were kind of talking, hitting it off, going back and forth, whatnot. And I wanted to convey my emotions, but I didn't want to be upfront about it and tell her about it. So I wrote a song about it. And, you know, looking back, it wasn't as deep as I thought it was at the time, but it definitely wasn't a bad song. I think it was pretty good. It's like, why does it gotta be so hard to find out if you love me? There's a whole story behind that. I'll go more into detailed stories of each song as we progress through these episodes. But, you know, it wasn't bad. I told my friend that I wrote a song about it, and then he told someone else whatnot, and word got out, and then she found out about the song, which I never recorded or released or told anybody the lyrics of. All she knew is that there was a song that I wrote about her. And we haven't spoken since then. So, yeah, that was kind of rough. It kind of, you know, it crushed me in a sense because I enjoyed writing the song. I enjoyed the whole process of it, you know, getting my emotions out there. But I was like, if this is going to be what people think when I write music, I'm just not going to do it. So from the 7th grade all the way up until 11th grade, junior year, I did nothing. And if you guys remember from the last podcast, junior year is when I started getting into rap. I was so into it, in fact, that I was like, I kind of want to be in that sphere. Like, what if I could be one of those guys that people listen to and they can jam out to my music? So I was talking to my buddy one day. We were in chemistry, Danny Aguilar, great guy. And I was like, you know what? We should form a rap group together. And I don't know if he was serious or if he was just mocking me, but he was all in. He was like, yeah, let's make a group. Hindsight, probably kidding around, but I tend to take things a little too seriously, as we'll get into later on. So we were looking around, we're like, well, what are we going to call this? And we're in chemistry, so we see the the scientific method. And we're like, the hypothesis. That's what we're going to call ourselves. And, you know, it's like a weird name, but honestly, I feel like it has a good punch to it. I thought it was pretty cool. The two of us, the hypothesis. So, you know, we started writing some songs together. We began 3 different songs, writing a few different lines of each, but we never actually finished them. He kind of fizzled off, which I assumed he would. I was hoping he wouldn't, but I figured he would. And he just, you know, he started doing his own different thing, not with music. And I was actually enjoying the writing process. So I finished those 3 songs, and we'll get to those in a little bit. So I finished those songs, but I still didn't record them. I just left them, wrote them in a notebook, threw the notebook into a basket, and didn't look at it for a while. So a few months go by, about a year, and we're in senior year, May of 2019, when a revelation happens. So I'm talking to a different girl, and she had this whole incident at prom, and we were going back and forth, and diss tracks were really big at the time, so we were like, oh, let's write a diss track about him, yada, yada, yada. Conversation goes on, and she says, well, if you were to write a diss track about me, what would it say? And I was like, oh, all right. So, like I did the year before, I took that to heart. And within 24 hours of talking about this diss track, I had written, recorded, and made a music video for the diss track for her. The Elizabeth diss track, one of my most viewed videos on YouTube, one of my most streamed songs on services, mostly for the memes, definitely for the memes. I recorded it in my bathroom, all right? chillax. I can't believe I just said chillax. Chill out. All right. My philosophy was like, you're in the shower, you're jamming out, you're listening to music, you're singing along, and you feel like you sound so good in the shower. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to record everything in the bathroom because it's going to sound good. That's not how it works. I know, I want to like slap myself, but it's a funny story. It's like my mom came home when I was recording it, and I was like, Mom, go downstairs, go down to the basement, because I'm just not like comfortable recording in front of people, because that's just a different side of me that not many people know about. But I'm just sitting in the bathroom talking into my phone, recording music, and it wasn't terrible, but obviously it wasn't that great either. That released, I put it on YouTube. It was pretty funny. Everyone was enjoying it. Really sad that she never came back with a diss track, because she kept saying she was gonna. She was like, I'm gonna write one on you. I'm gonna destroy you. And it was all in good fun. And I was super excited to see what she was gonna roast me on. But unfortunately, she never came out with one. So I'm still, to this day, very sad that she never did. So some more time goes by. I don't write anything new. I'm just chilling. I say, well, the group didn't work out. The song did okay, but it wasn't because of anything quality-wise. It was just for the memes. I'm in Scotland, and I'm listening to the Rocket Man soundtrack. I'm on the back of the bus vibing to it, and I'm just thinking about how great of an idea musicals are. Rocket Man with Taron Egerton, Elton John, really, really good movie. But I'm thinking, I'm listening to these songs, right? And I'm thinking about the movie. And then I watch the movie, and the songs get stuck in my head, and I can go listen to the songs afterwards. Like, it just seems so genius. Like, there's the two different aspects, not only in like financials, making money off two different things, but just like people enjoying your content. There's two separate aspects to it. And I was in the process of writing a love story of my own, and the main character happened to be a musician. So I was like, well, why not just make the musician like actually sing his own songs and have the movie be a musical? And the big problem I ran into with that was like I didn't know how I was gonna get all my songs up onto the big platforms, right? Like YouTube and SoundCloud, the two big, the audio and the video. You can just upload whatever you want. You can any random Joe Schmo can go and upload a video to one of those websites. See, I'm going off contrary bars. But you can just do whatever you want. You can just upload whatever you want. But when it comes to Apple Music and Spotify and Pandora or Amazon Music, whatever, you can't just upload whatever you want. You have to have some sort of distributor. Like big labels, big artists, they have their ways. But people like me, I can't just upload. I gotta find a way. So I was looking through, and I found this website, DistroKid, which I still use today. Really good. Gets the music out to all the places. And I wanted to test before I fully committed to this musical. And I still didn't want to fully commit. I didn't want to become like a John Williams, or like a Hans Zimmer Apple Music profile where it was all musical and music stuff. So I was thinking, and I was like, well, maybe now is the time for me to start actually getting to write. Like, if I have a way to get my music out there all over the place and not just on YouTube and SoundCloud, like I could legitimize myself being on the big platforms. So I wanted to think of a name that was original. Before it was Big J, which is not original, right? So my name is Jason J, and then like the Bigs and the Lils, like Lil Wayne, Lil Pump, Big Sean. It wasn't original. I wanted something that was different, and that was my theme that I wanted to go with. I wanted to be different. I don't know. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm gonna change the rap game. I'm gonna be different." I was in that same boat. I wanted to be different. So I was thinking of a name. I was like, well, okay. I mean, the first step to being different, the opposite. And then I got with Contra. So I was like, okay, Contra is a cool name, but I think there's like military ties behind it. And like, there's just something missing from it. Like just Contra. I need something with it. It's like Contra something. Contra what? Contra. And I was thinking. And then I was looking at different definitions of different words. Like, if I took like a random word and then like found sub definitions of it. And then I ended up with vein. I guess like the fourth definition of vein is like a group or a following or something. So I was like, that's pretty cool. Like contra vein, the opposite of groups. So just trying to be different from what people usually follow. And that was when I came up with Contravane. I found it like a pure stroke of genius. Like, I think it has a really good ring to it. Contravane, pretty original. I've been saying that for a year and a half now, so maybe it's different to me because I'm so used to saying it. But like Contravane, it just sounds right. I don't know, I love it. So I came up with Contravane, and I wanted something to upload to the streaming service as a test. And what audio file did I have? I had the LizWiz diss track. So I uploaded it, and it worked. I remember I was sitting there at the day of the release. I was so nervous that something was going to go wrong, that my file wouldn't be the right format or whatever. But it worked. My Apple Music profile was created. Same thing with Spotify. My profile was created. And LizWiz diss track was there to be able to be streamed by anybody who has any music service. And that was one of the greatest feelings ever. It was like, anybody can listen to this. Doesn't have to be YouTube. And that was so cool. One of my most streamed songs on Apple Music and Spotify, just because of the memes and whatnot, whatever. So I'm in Scotland, very dreary, very dark, very rainy all the time. So I'm like, all right, I gotta start spending my time doing something. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna start writing this music. I have the profiles, I can do it. I gotta start writing it and recording good quality audio. I gotta start doing this. So I wrote 7 songs. Well, I wrote 6 songs for my first release, which was supposed to be called Opposite Day. And it was going to release on Opposite Day, which I believe is January 25th. And then I kept thinking, and I was like, well, maybe Opposite Day isn't exactly what I want to go for. Like, I wanted to be somewhat of like a funny type rap, but I didn't want to be just like a meme rap. I wanted to have some sort of seriousness in my content, not just like everything being a joke. So I ended up coming up with Contra. It was like a self-titled album, but it wasn't a fully self-titled. It wasn't a fully self-titled album. It was just Contra. I thought it was a pretty cool, subtle Contra. 7 songs on it. One was LizWiz diss track, and then the rest were original songs. Basically, me just talking about how I want to be different. My philosophy with all of my albums, and I'm going to be calling them albums, but technically they're mixtapes, because I don't have a label, but just for like easy purposes, I'm going to call it album. All of my albums, I had the philosophy where I wanted Contra two opposite, well, not two, but I wanted opposite segments of the album, which usually turns out to 2. So it started out being melodic and me talking about how I want to be different, and the second half was more ramping up speed, spitting out more bars, and being more like we have the vibes, and then we have like hard stuff, harder music. And on the hard side was Contra Style, which is another one of my most streamed songs and one of my personal favorite songs. I think the flow is really good and the lyrics are really good. It's one of my most perfect songs in my opinion. I just think that the recording wasn't the best because I was still new to condenser microphones and all producing different works. So I didn't know what I was doing at the time. So it doesn't sound the best, but it still is one of my favorite songs to this day. So I was like, all right. And then, people didn't think it was the best. It's my first release. Everyone was like, what's this man doing rapping? Because I was a big nerd in high school. I was heavy into academics and sports. I wasn't like the type to start rapping. So everyone was very confused, but it got listens because people were interested. And they were like, well, what's this guy got to say? Because it's going to be different than a lot of other rap. Because I'm just not usually that kind of person. So, it was all right. Didn't get the best, but, people were interested. And I decided I was going to keep doing it. So I figured I was going to write my next album. And I needed more inspiration to write. I was like, well, I don't know what to write about anymore. Like, my whole first album was me being different. Like, I can't just write a whole second album being the exact same thing. And it just so happened to be that I was in, I wouldn't say toxic, but it was like a very bipolar on and off relationship. Had a lot of highs, had a lot of lows, very high highs, very low lows. And I was like, all right, I'll just write about this. I mean, that's what most artists talk about is their personal life experiences. And that was what I was going through at the time. So I wrote about it and ended up being on my second album called The Pursuit, which I thought would be very interesting. I'm pulling everything up right now so I can get the exact stats and whatnot. I thought it was a really cool option, The Pursuit, so people be wondering what I'm pursuing. Is it the pursuit of happiness? Is it the pursuit of fame? Is it just the pursuit of life, just trying to live my life? I wanted to leave that up in the air, open to the public, so they can have their discussions, get talking about it, and try to figure out what I'm trying to say. The first 9 songs on the album are about the relationship, and you can tell by the way they go. I put them in a specific order to talk about the different highs and lows, and it's just the first 9 songs just keep going up and down. Some are sad, some are really happy, some are depressing, and I was just speaking from my heart. And then the second half of the album was more hard stuff, more bars and whatnot. And they included the 3 songs that I finished from the Hypothesis days. I figured I'd put them in there. And they didn't really match up, but I wanted to release them, and I didn't want them to be their own short release. So I just put them on the end of the pursuit. And, going back to the first 9 songs, I was talking from my heart. I was speaking from deep down, telling personal stories. And people like that on the internet when you talk about real things and you be yourself. So that's why The Pursuit is my most streamed project. It just has the most popular opinions about it. Like a lot of people like The Pursuit because of how real I was throughout. I was just straight up talking about my relationship. And of course, the girl that it was about wasn't the happiest about it. But like, hey, I mean, in my, it's just... you do me wrong, or you make me feel this way, I have every right to talk about it. Not like I was dissing her. I was just talking about my feelings. I'm sad. That was just what I was saying. So those are my first 2 projects, and it all goes downhill from there. It's a great time. I'll tell you more about that as we go on in the next coming podcast. I'm going to tell you about the second half of my career. And then if you guys want, I can break down each song from each album and tell you about what they're about specifically. And that would have to be in further podcasts down the line. But the next one, I'm going to be talking about my next 3 projects and then some of the work I've done after that. A lot of the problems I've run into. It's going to be an interesting final podcast for this class. So I hope you guys are excited to hear about that. It's going to be interesting. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to my career, why I started writing music, my first songs, some of the embarrassing moments I've had, and the general perception that people have had from my first 2 projects. Thanks for watching. Enjoy. Peace out. I'm just saying a bunch of weird stuff. Be cool.